Here.
Trustee Salahuddin. Trustee Inger. Present. Vice President Lee.
Here.
President Tejada.
Here.
Student Trustee Liang. Student Trustee Afsare.
Here.
Are there any changes to the agenda? There are none.
Okay.
Approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I get an approval of the minutes?
Approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there's nothing to report out of closed session. Ooh, now is one of my favorite times of the month, is the district's November Student of the Month. And I'm going to present our Oceana High School principal, Miss April Holland.
I don't know how to pull it out, so I'm just going to speak. That's loud enough, right? Yes. So I'm excited to introduce Milani Urbina as Oceana's JUHSD Student of the Month. We had several outstanding nominees for this honor, but Milani stood out. She is an all-round amazing representative of the Oceana community. ASB coordinator Chris Corp was very forthcoming about her contributions. As the ASB treasurer, Milani is the officer in charge of not only all the other ASB treasurers, but is also well acquainted with the school's financial accounts. She routinely finds small anomalies in the school's financial records that prompt the school cashier to respond with, "Nice catch." Milani often offers her help to other ASB committees when she realizes their institutional knowledge is lacking because of pandemic-related at-home learning. Because of this, Milani is often one of the hardest working members on a majority of the ASB committees, even though she's technically only on 2 committees, treasurers and executive. Milani is also constantly training her peers to be her replacement when she graduates next year. She also trains all of us weekly about the use of the budget forms and purchase orders. Mr. Corp added, "I often feel like Milani is the adult in the room, even with me standing near her." In addition to her leadership in ASB, Milani has made nearly straight A's throughout her time at Oceana and is currently enrolled in AP Chemistry and AP Calculus. Her calculus teacher, Ms. Bell, shared, "Milani Urbina works very hard in calculus class. She's very good and brave about asking questions when she doesn't understand something. I think this benefits the class environment and her classmates because some students are shy and are afraid to ask questions. Not Milani. She's always very polite about asking for help too, and she helps other students in class who are struggling with the material that as she's mastering it. I think that's really generous and giving. I like that about her, that generosity of self and spirit. She's friendly to her classmates and super friendly to me too. I'm new here and she's gone out of her way to make me feel welcome to the Oceana community." Milani especially enjoys the government aspects of humanities. She enjoys learning about our country's government and finds the ways that we teach humanities at Oceana particularly relevant and inclusive. I echo another staff member who said, "Milani Urbina is super kind and considerate." Her advice for those entering high school, enjoy yourself and work hard. Don't take anything for granted. High school goes by so quickly, and these experiences may be some of the most important times in a person's life. Milani has exemplified this at Oceana by taking part in so many aspects of school life. Active all 4 years in athletics, she participates in track and field her freshman year, cross country her sophomore year, and soccer all 4 years. When I told Milani she would be receiving this recognition, she looked shocked and amazed. While all of us at Oceana recognizes Milani's contributions, she remains humble. Milani asks a lot of herself, but even when feeling huge pressures, she always has a smile on her face when reassuring freshmen and sophomores and encouraging them to produce their best work. To paraphrase Mr. Corp, "After all of the above, my favorite aspect of Milani's personality is her love of constructive criticism. Even though I'm not her senior ex-mentor, she still wanted my eyes on the interview questions she was going to ask. Congresswoman Jackie Spear, that she was going to ask Congresswoman Jackie Spear. She did not want me to hold back with the criticism. Like any great leader, Milani is also highly critical of her own work on ASB and often asks everyone how she can better serve them as a leader. Above all, Milani Urbina is a true leader, and I look forward to seeing how she will serve to better the world once she graduates or even before. Milani has applied to a bunch of four-year universities and hopes to enter the medical field as a pediatrician or a pediatric nurse. Children who are lucky enough to have Milani care for them will be very fortunate indeed. I'd like to call Milani. Present this to you, Milani, and I'm so proud of you.
So we'd like to, I would like to say a few words, and I'll open it up to our board members as well. I just want to congratulate you, and I know you're going to, you represent us, our district, so well. And even with the mask on, I can see you probably have this great, great smile. And I can totally, everything I've heard, I can totally hear that you would be great with kids. And for you to be a pediatrician, I read that and I went, oh, I don't doubt it at all. I just reading it, how people view you and that you're there to serve. And I just, please stay in touch with us. Let us know, even through Ms. Holland, how you're doing. And I just see how proud your family is right now. Is there any, would you like to say anything?
What jumped out at me just listening to Ms. Holland's speak about you, and we actually were given a copy of her words. So what really jumps out actually is the fact that your teacher recognized you as a servant leader, and that's a really big thing. And to be able to understand that at your age is huge, because you will be able to carry that into your future endeavors for sure. And especially if you're entering the medical profession, I certainly know that that's a trait that will serve you very, very well. So certainly we are very proud of your accomplishments and can't wait to hear what you do next.
I don't have any much more to add than what the other trustees had mentioned, but your pre-resume is definitely very impressive, and we are looking forward to all the great things that you're going to do in the future. So congratulations to you. Just everything is well done. So I'm sure your parents are, congratulate the parents for raising such a wonderful daughter. Let me just tell you, it's not an easy task. We as parents strive for that every day, so.
Yes, yes.
And true inspiration. Thank you.
Congratulations. Proud that you have all this inspiration you've drawn from our community, and obviously you're putting to work. It is your senior year, so say to enjoy the rest of your senior year. This is, that time, being back on campus is one thing, but just hearing your career interests, it's not lost on, I think, any of us that you had a lot of adversity and training living through a pandemic as a teenager. And so I think that being an inspiration among your peers, and of course to your peers in the community, look forward to everything that you will bring to our community and anywhere that you go in terms of post-secondary education, higher education. But yeah, public service begins in the heart, now home. So feel free to come back anytime, but you're here, and yeah, just to honor that. Congratulations.
Congratulations, you deserve being student of the month. I don't know you, since I go to Westmore, but, congratulations.
Vesta?
Thanks. Milani, I just want to echo the congratulations. And what jumps out for me, along with what other people have already said, is that you are very well-rounded, that you have this balance of catching things at the cashiers, that you have this analytical and scholarly side, and you also have kindness and empathy. And so I don't have any doubt that you will go far. And I'm very proud that you're a student in our district. So thank you for representing us so well.
Thank you
Mhm.
again. One more round. I'd like to have a picture with you and your family, if that's okay.
For the photo op. Good job, family.
Good job, family, for sure, yes.
Get Austin to take those signs off in case more people come. Last month's.
Now, on to the communications, the board report. We'll start with our student trustees.
Oh, okay. So at Westmore, last Friday was senior sunrise, and it was at the track, like the field, and it was from 6:30 to around 8 o'clock, and it was just like an opportunity for seniors to like hang out, and we haven't had like many social events, so like for the senior class, like they're getting back to some sense of like normalcy in terms of our events. And then also this Thursday is the first round of student tours for prospective 8th graders that will be held during the school day. So we have one this Thursday and then another December 2nd and then 2 days in January when we come back from winter break. And that is all I have to report for tonight.
Last week we had our interim fair where students got to attend 3 10-minute presentations about the interim that they could go to. So Oceana is different. Because we have a smaller school, we don't have as many resources for electives. So in the spring we have 1 week where we have just 1 week of electives for students. So in this fair they were able to see the different electives offered during interim. In addition to interim fair, our Oceana food and nutrition class has been selling pies, and we sold about 100 for our fundraiser to fundraise the class, and that made us about $1,500, which is super good. And then also Oceana ASB has partnered up with a local thrift store to raise more money for ASB. Yeah.
Auntie?
Yeah, so good to know that a lot of things are moving into the next year. We're near the end of the first semester back on campuses. Good to hear from students and the activities on campuses as well. As a teacher, I'm seeing a lot in terms of providing expanded access to the kind of activities on our campuses and, of course, in the community, and, of course, concern around COVID. So I just want to honor the work being done in our district by our COVID director, Director Jones, and everybody, all of our staff, of course, students, community, and navigating that. I think it's going to be tough because we are looking at the holiday season. This time last year, there were a lot of concerns in terms of just when a vaccine was coming out. Now that we have one, concerns about what that means for our students and families who are concerned about whatever access or level of access they need to public health resources while being in school. So I just want to say to the community, reach out to our district. Feel free, of course, to access that information and to resources in our community at the county and, of course, city level in accordance with state and federal guidelines, which hopefully we'll have more updates in terms of anybody's concerns and where it's going. But I have faith that we're getting to a better place, and just keeping that in mind, be mindful of our students who are also working in the community and their work as essential workers with the rest of our community. One thing I wanted to highlight from last week, which we didn't get a chance to discuss, was the grand jury report on building a racially and ethnically diverse teaching workforce, a challenge for our schools. In approving that, it was on the consent agenda. I think taking the time just to understand what that means for not only our district, but for many districts who are looking at shortages in staffing. Certainly some of the things on our agenda tonight in terms of finding teachers and just staff for special education In many ways, we are understaffed and underfunded, especially our district being one of the low-income or lowest income districts in the county. Finding resources for that, I think, also points to the racial inequities that we're seeing across the nation. One of those being that there are a shortage of people of color in positions for either both certificated and classified positions in our schools. I think it's a very timely report. This time last year, we're talking about, or even last spring, thinking about where we are in terms of racial equity around COVID and providing resources in public health. We know now, return to schools, that this obviously directly impacts public education. As a person of color, as a man of color in education, I'm among one of the most underrepresented demographics, especially as a Latino male. I see this often in our schools, not only a need for more representation, but a need to provide spaces that are welcoming to educators who have to navigate higher education and getting a college degree, and of course a credential and being able to do that. So I want to honor the work our district is doing to reach out and do the recruitment around that, and also in terms of welcoming more of that in our district community, especially as a community as diverse as ours. To that effect, I do want to mention quickly, we had a governance training this weekend, which kind of echoed the tone of some of what I brought up last week, or last meeting in our board report. And what my disappointment begins in terms of navigating meetings, and I think public service with some equity. I made comments to the effect of recounting a transgression by another board member upon me after a meeting. I stand by my comments because they're all based on fact. I was disappointed to hear President Tejada basically assert something that was not true. I never yelled at President Tejada. I never yelled at a woman of color. I take that personally as somebody who works with many women, who was raised by a woman of color, a strong woman of color, my mom. And working with women in the field of education is a primary tenet, one that I have honored throughout my service. So to hear the characterization of being a victim while being the actual person creating the transgression, that was disappointing to me. And beyond that, is dangerous. Lying on camera, on the public record, and mischaracterizing an event, especially with respect to the demonization of a lot of people of color and racial profile in our community, is not something to be taken lightly. I also want to counter the fact that when I am communicating in a boardroom, inside or out, I'm not asking for any extra communication. So to be clear, when I spoke with you, President Tejada, this is on you. You asked to speak with me. You drew me outside of a boardroom, privately cornering me to another room, verbally attacking me, and afterwards, I made sure I announced to the room, loud and clear, that one was unprofessional. I didn't appreciate that, and you should not do that, because this is not the kind of conduct that reflects public service, public officials. I will not made to feel less than. I will not maybe feel as somebody who is, in fact, doing what you're doing, projecting that upon me and any other member of our board and community sets the exact wrong example. But I'm not here to give a lecture. It is a teachable moment, however, and I feel that instead of being made to feel less than, I will still continue to expect more from every single member of this board and our district community in navigating political issues and personalities appropriately. That said, we had a governance training this weekend, and it was shocking but not surprising to hear President Tejada and additional trustees object to being recorded at a publicly noticed meeting, which I did record and notify the board that I was recording for the record. I will be providing that online, as our district has not provided that for our governance training this weekend or from the prior part, earlier in the semester. I will again continue to expect a higher level of integrity from every board member here, and I will continue to defend myself. I will also say to the district community, if you feel like you are feeling marginalized or profiled or even pressured in our district, to all staff, students, and families, to feel free to speak up at our public meetings. I have shared this information with the public, in addition to legal counsel, who I feel like can address this. If you feel you need to, please contact the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, the National Lawyers Guild, or other agencies in our community and beyond if you feel like you're not getting the representation that you need within our district. I want to make sure that everybody in our district feel safe to express themselves fully, regardless of if they agree with the majority of the board, inside or outside of a meeting. That said, setting out some clear boundaries. President Tejada, if you have anything to say to me, do not speak to me privately. do not approach me privately. Say it to me in a public meeting. Please keep it on the record, and please keep it relevant to public education and public policy. I know you can do better. I know it's been a hard year for all of us, but I expect more of you. When they go low, we go high. These are the words of our First Lady, Michelle Obama. I expect everybody to own that. I know you certainly can, but actions speak louder than words. So I'll expect to see that moving forward. That said, there are a few things I think just briefly want to touch on. There was the Truth Act, as one of our trustees, Trustee Salahudi, mentioned last meeting. I did attend, and the Board of Supervisors at the county level did approve or decided to move forward with taking action to redirect our Sheriff, Carlos Bolaños, to stop cooperating with ICE. I think making sure that our community is a safe space, whether it is at any level of public service, including public safety, and that we have laws that enforce that, because we are a sanctuary state, that moving forward with any kind of immigration reform begins locally as well. And so that was reassuring to see that. I did call, actually, on the Board of Supervisors to also call for the resignation of our Sheriff, Carlos Bolaños, because of his continued cooperation with ICE. Till now, in addition to his involvement with the Oath Keepers and the January 6th insurrection in Washington, D.C. That said, I believe moving forward, whatever we do in San Mateo County, we should do in the spirit of listening to our community, our people who are undocumented, and the community that supports them, which of course includes our district, where we have passed a resolution in the same spirit. In addition to that, in national policy, the Build Back Better plan is moving forward through Washington with respect to social and climate spending. I think it's important to note that there is progress through Congress and that human infrastructure is key to that. Among those being paid family leave, childcare, and of course, universal preschool. These are the kind of things in our district that will help. We do have a Head Start sponsored program here, and among things, a lot of services that reach out to our community that would benefit from this package when passed. Lastly, I would say that seeing the United Nations in the recent conference around climate has also taken action in promoting a lot of these policies, and I'd like to see that integrated into our conversations here locally when we're talking about planning, of course, with the current project here at San Maria del Rey, which is still pending given the vote at the City Council and input for the community. That said, I look forward to our discussion of this. It is Native American Heritage Month. Understanding what that means in our community and globally absolutely involves understanding climate justice and policies like the Green New Deal, which I look forward to us discussing in the very near future and even tonight. Thank you, and that's all I have for tonight.
Ms. Garrett?
I don't have too much, but as we come to this Thanksgiving season, I just want to be grateful for everyone that is here to put in the work for the district. And I know it's been a hard year. Everyone is pretty mentally spent and exhausted from all the things that are happening in the world and in our community. So I just want to say that I appreciate you all. And, you know, I just want to reach out. You know, there's been a lot of discourse here, obviously, in the boardroom. You know, President Tejada, thank you for doing the best that you can, given the circumstances, being a human being and being here to do the work as best that you can. You know, we're all not perfect. We all try to recognize our faults, you know, when we can and when we acknowledge it. So, you know, I just want to thank you for being here, make that sacrifice to be with your family and being here to do the work for us in our community. So I just want to say I'm grateful for all of you, making that time to be here. So, I mean, I don't really have too much more to say, but I hope everyone has a restful Thanksgiving time next week and be with your family and just get some rest, please. So that's all I have. Thank you.
I would echo that for all staff. And I'm just, once again, I just want to say how extremely grateful I am to all staff at all levels for the incredible amount of work that you have been doing and continue to do on behalf of the students of our community. And by extension to their families as well. I know it's been a really heavy lift this school year, and certainly for the past now, 20 months, 24, it's been a long time, right? So from me personally, thank you so much. And please, try not to think about this place when you're on vacation next week. Really enjoy your family, enjoy the time.
It's try.
And I know it's hard, but I know you all deserve the rest that's coming. As to this word called respect, it really does have to work both ways. And respect also includes appearing at meetings on time. It includes appearing at meetings like tonight on time and not missing entire closed sessions. It's about appearing on time for governance trainings that begin at 9 a.m. and then showing up at 10:46 a.m. demanding to record that meeting on a phone without saying hello, without saying I apologize for being on time, for being late. So it's a difficult position to be put in when things like that happen. And discussions occur in the times that are missed that would be helpful to the effective conduct at our meetings and effective governance. So I would just like to say that if respect must be earned and it must be given, and it's a two-way street. And self-reflection is necessary by all of us up here on the dais. Thank you.
So yes, I was at the governance workshop. I think it did become productive, despite, some of the limitations we had. It did become productive. I was happy about that. And I was with our Student Advisory Council last night. Always a pleasure to be with them and to learn from them. I learned a lot from them. I always learn a lot from them. And I'm really thankful for our district, our staff. Omar, Rashid, I haven't seen you in forever. God, it is so good to see you. I miss you. And that's what this is about. Our district is so great. And everyone works so hard. And I know, I do agree with Mr. Ochapinti that I also expect a higher level of integrity from the entire board. And I am not here to give a lecture, although you lectured me just now, saying you were not here to give a lecture. And I do agree, Mr. Ochapinti, that actions do speak louder than words. And people know me. They know the work I've done in this district, and when I was in Jefferson Elementary as a parent, I passed their bond back in 2013. I still serve on the Citizens Oversight Committee because I care about that district. That's where I grew up. That's where my kids grew up. Now I've transferred that over to this district because this is where I grew up. This is where my kids grew up. And I care about all of the kids and the families in this district. It at times has felt like a hostile work environment. I'm willing to put up with that because there's a greater good here. I look at our teachers, our staff, our students. When I'm in that Student Advisory Council meeting, it reminds me over and over why we're here and why we're doing the good work. And we should not be distracted by differences. I will not attack. That's not me. People who know me, that is not me. I'm never the aggressor. And I hope that this doesn't come up anymore. I would like to put this to rest. I'm willing to speak privately, but apparently I'm not someone who's going to air dirty laundry. It's not right. It's not respectful to the other person. So actions do speak louder than words. I believe my actions are with much integrity, and I care so much about this district. And I think that I have backed that up. I walk the walk. I always do walk the walk. So with that, thank you. Please do have a great Thanksgiving break. You've all worked so hard. Everyone's worked so hard. And I know some of our students are probably going to be working on applications, but, get some rest too. And with that, I'm going to move on to our superintendent, Ms. Presta.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to echo the sentiment of thankfulness during this week before Thanksgiving. What our sites don't realize is that I routinely thank my executive cabinet. And I'm looking over at Monica Casey, our president of AFT, and the people that I work with on a real daily basis up here at the district office. I thank them every day because they're such an amazing and dedicated team. And they're very humble because they routinely say in the next breath, oh my gosh, the people at the sites, that's really, they're doing such a hard job and they're doing such a good job. So I'm really grateful. It's not a given. Not all districts actually have this level of dedication to the students and the staff that we do. So I'm really grateful for you. And the district office will be open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. It will be closed Thursday and Friday. We will have a bit of a skeleton crew. Not everybody will be here. And I do hope that those who are off the whole week have a chance to really take some time to refresh. Because we're sort of a broken record, but this year really has been, I think globally, not just in this school district, it's been really difficult. So I hope that people take the time to refresh and spend time with friends and family. With that, I will also say that I'm very excited that tomorrow is our second meeting of the District Executive Equity Leadership Team, otherwise known as DELT, with Courageous Conversation. So that's something that the directors, associate superintendents, and myself participate in, and it was really a good meeting, the first meeting, and really excited that this work is getting some traction. And then I also wanted to just give a thanks to the facility subcommittee in the school board, Trustee Lee and Trustee Salahuddin, for their work on the facility subcommittee. We had a 2x2 with Daly City Council on Monday night. And, the amount of meetings that we end up, and actually I would be remiss not thanking Tina Van Raphorst, our Associate Superintendent of Business, because it's really, like another whole full-time job that we've taken on. But it was a really productive night, and I feel like we're on a good course with that. And so I just wanted to mention that. So thank you. And I was sorry that I missed the student trustees last night, because it is one of my favorite meetings as well. Thank you.
Now for the AFT Local 1481 report, Ms. Casey.
The board and public and staff. So I don't have much to say today. We've had a lot of negotiations, talks. We've done 2 MOUs, as you all know, that are on the list for tonight, 1 side letter. We've got 5 contracts. We're starting on Thursday with full-blown negotiations. That should be very fun and exciting. And I just feel really thankful, since we're on the thankful course, that I have a great team that's working on the AFT side, and that we can work with the district side. It's wonderful to be able to do that. I wanted to mention something about substituting, because I was at Westmore all day on Friday. There were times that Doreen and I had 4 classes in the cafeteria, other times 3 classes, and then one time I was in 1 classroom. Staffing is difficult right now. And so the good thing about it is I love being there and all the sites with the students. It's a little, you've got 100 people at once, up to 100 people at once. It's not really easy to interact with people. So it's really just about crowd control. But I do like being there and seeing people that I know. And I wanted to mention thank you to all the staff who have been covering for each other. If you have 5 classes and then you have a 6th period, and then you can go and cover for another person that's missing, that's what a lot of people are doing. And it's incredible, but we're burnt out. We're all tired. So for example, Thornton, instead of getting substitutes, they share, they say, okay, my 5 students can go in your room and the other 5 students can go in that room instead of getting a sub, because we know that the larger campuses really need the substitutes. So just wanted to mention that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is I've had a couple of staff members who have children, small children, and they were expressing thanks for the district's helpfulness. For example, last year we had the daycare available, and they were just really happy to have that. And then I had somebody else say that they were really proud that we take care of our people. So especially those with children, they feel that it's helpful. Okay, and that's all for today.
Is Ms. Jones available?
She did not have any COVID report
Okay.
for tonight.
Great.
Mhm.
And we have, I'm going to jump from past information correspondence, such as for us, and onto the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 14. Do we have any public comment?
You do. We actually have 2 tonight.
Okay.
Let me just double check to confirm. Yes, so we do have 2. Jake, do you want to do in person first and then Zoom, or would you like to do Zoom first and then in person?
We do in person first.
Okay, so first up we have Mr. Rashid. He would like to speak. Just to remind you, you have 3 customarily minutes to speak. I will start the timer as soon as you start.
I hope my 30 years plus earned a little leeway, because I have a lot to say, to be completely honest. I love this district. And if I get emotional, I deeply apologize. God, family, Jefferson Unified School District, it's been my life. It changed me as a man. And it broke my heart not long ago. It started with a phone call from HR saying that you're going to be placed on a 39-month waiting list. Some people don't see, and some people don't want to see. So see me. Please, see me. I exist. I matter. My feeling matters. We have wellness counselors everywhere in the district. A phone call gutted me just to hear. And then the district, and I love, hides like a criminal behind county council. I write an email, send it to county council, a nice way of degrading people. I'm not a liar. I'm anything but a liar. So if my conversation on the phone with HR is valid, my conversation with Vice Principal Swami in the past is valid, because I'm not going to lie. One from Tina saying, you're not an active member. One from Mike, contact burst. And one says, you're not going to have medical coverage past April. Young people, be careful, because I never thought that would happen in our district. Our district is better than that. If it's a system issue, we got to change the system. Because the first thing I said, you exceeded the 104 weeks of medical from workman comp pays. Then when we looked into it, I didn't exceed it. It's just a state and an ed thing that doesn't make sense. If you get hurt at work, and you put your heart at work, and 90 days later, if you don't have sick days, you're no longer active in the district, no longer active. One board member told me not long ago, I had to switch jobs because I wasn't treated like a human being. Well, this is the first time I feel my district does not treat me like a human being. Thank you for the heads up on that letter that came from the district, from the county councils, because it was not written by HR. You want me to follow documentation? Well, I want all the documentation that has my name on it. Don't wake a sleeping dog. Do not wake a sleeping dog. I love the district, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna lose the job that I love. See, it's not the money.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to.
I'm gonna give him 1 more minute.
Okay.
It's not about the money. Because I promise you, it doesn't pay. Tina, by the way, you need 1 more letter to go. When someone lives in the district, new housing that looks beautiful, another letter is gonna say, you're gonna be homeless soon. Do you want that on your conscience? Do you wanna brag about that as a board, as HR that should be fighting for me? Do we really? Are we like that as a district? Are we really like that? If so, I work for the wrong district, but I don't think so. I love this district, I always do. But past tonight, unless the district makes it right, I would never turn my back or come to Daly City ever again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Linda Crotty.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, I'm sure you can hear me. Can you hear me? Hello? I wonder why that is. Let's start this way. Hold on. Is this better? Okay, thank you. So I am here tonight to express my concern over your heavy-handed COVID-19 policy. My child was selected to represent her high school as a student trustee, a position which she takes very seriously and was very proud to uphold. Today, as you notice, she's not there because I had to break the news to her that I received a phone call from your enforcer of your new COVID-19 policy to let her know that she's no longer welcome to attend the meetings in person unless she shows proof of vaccination, proof of a negative test within the last 72 hours, or submit to being tested on the spot in order to gain entrance. When I asked if accommodations have been included in this new policy to allow for remote participation via Zoom, I was told that my child would not be able to participate because the school board had not decided or had decided not to implement that accommodation, nor have you made available a religious or medical exemption, which is downright discriminatory. In this day and age with the technology that we have, I do not accept a response that there was not an ability to provide remote participation. I believe you can achieve that. Your decision to uphold your discriminatory policy is harmful to the very children that you are supposed to help as board members. Now you're discriminating against and withholding my child from achieving her goal at being a student trustee, which will affect what she can enter on her college applications. So, shame on you. We know that this vaccine does not work the way that vaccines are supposed to work, which means it does not prevent someone from getting this disease. It may prevent you from dying from the disease, but it doesn't prevent you from contracting the disease. We also know that both vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals can contract and transmit COVID to others. We know that these filthy germ-ridden masks don't work to prevent you from contracting COVID, but we still wear them because we are mandated to. We also know that COVID has a 90%, over 90% survival rate, whether you are vaccinated or not. So my questions to you are these. What value is there of showing proof of vaccination if the vaccinated can still transmit COVID to others? Why are you pushing for children to be vaccinated? Especially when there are evidence of many instances of this vaccine causing endocarditis in teenagers. And there are other instances of dosage-related injuries. What qualifies any of you to know better than what the facts are? Why do you feel it's appropriate for you to make a child's private health information public by demanding that they be tested on site if not vaccinated, and then put their name on a list for contact tracing? Why not check temperatures instead, like most employers do? We're supposed to protect our children and their.
Thank you for your comments.
On to our discussion items. Ms. Baca, for the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant presentation.
Good evening, President Tejada. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, I will be presenting on the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant. The Educator Effectiveness Block Grant and its purpose is to provide one-time funds to provide learning, professional learning for our teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, and classified staff that interact with pupils to promote educator equity, quality, and effectiveness. So our district was allocated $1,057,516 that need to be spent by June 30th of 2026. So these funds are based on the counts of certificated and classified staff on the CBEDS and CalPAS reports. So there were about 438 staff members, and it was about $2,400 for each staff, and that's how we came up with the $1,057,000. The conditions for these funds, the plan must be board approved before December 30th, and there must be a presentation of the plan before it's approved. So the following board meeting, this will go for adoption. Okay.
For the public.
Okay. I can't open up the presentation. The second condition is that we need to submit an annual data report on or before September 30th every year, and we have to write down the specific strategies and purchases we've made, and also how many teachers, administrators, and paraprofessionals receive the training. So that has to be done every year. These funds can be spent on 10 categories or criteria, and we don't all have to spend it in all of the 10 criteria. But the ones that I've listed are mostly the ones that are already listed on our LCAP. So it's a continuation of our professional development for the LCAP. So the first criteria is coaching and mentoring for staff. So we allocated about $80,000 for that. But as you can see, this is only for principals and vice principals to build capacity because we do have our instructional coaches that provide coaching for our teachers. The next category is for providing professional learning for standards online instruction. And so we had spent a chunk of money on this one. So this is to provide training for our paraprofessionals. In addition, I would like to propose giving the sites some funds so that the teachers can request and choose the PD they would like for their own growth. But at the same time, there are some district-wide PDs that we'll be offering so that I've set aside funds for district-wide professional development as well. I've also set aside some funds to revise and refine our scope and sequence. The third category is to re-engage pupils and lead for accelerated learning. So these are for our instructional design that some of our teachers are already participating in, which is modern classroom, complex instruction, and educational technology training. The next strategy is for social emotional learning. And as you know, we have adopted Project Wayfinder. So we will continue to support our teachers in planning and developing curriculum and how they would present this information in their classroom. In addition, funds are allocated for mental health and wellness staff for their training. The next criteria is for positive school climate. So we would like to continue our work with courageous conversation. So a chunk of money is devoted for that, and also LGBTQ+ training for staff. The next category is our main focus for giving our students access to grade level content and curriculum. And this is through Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. And our plan is to provide 4 coaching sections to help our teachers implement this so that, again, our students can have access to grade level content standards. And also, we would like to spend a lot of money on our special education staff as well for their training. And a couple more, we also feel that our administrators need to be connected and be part of a professional learning network. So having their own PLC and working and learning from each other is very, very important. So money was set aside for that. And also, one of the other big priorities is our ethnic studies curriculum development. So money was reserved for that in addition to other funds that were already allocated for ethnic studies. So this is in addition. And the last part, if I can move my slide. Let's see. And that's pretty much it. That is the plan for $1,057,000 that must be spent by 2026. In addition to this grant, there should also be another grant for A through G completion that is coming up, and we'll let you know more about that when we receive more information.
Great.
And that's it.
Okay. We have any questions, Mr. Lee?
Just one quick question. Well, I know we have until 2026 to spend all the money. It seems to me that we could probably spend it a lot sooner than that. What's the anticipated timeframe to actually spend, the realistic timeframe to actually spend the $1 million?
It will really depend on if our staff and our sites spend some of their professional development money. And it also will depend on, a lot of times we offer professional learning, but there are no substitute teachers. So that kind of delays us. Instead of, providing a bigger cohort for training, we can only get, 10 teachers instead of 25 teachers. So with this and plus the COVID funds, I think we'll be able to, expend this till 2026.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. Thank you. Comments and questions. Thank you for the presentation, and of course, moving on this grant. I think a couple of things I note. Just it is good to see the funding going towards areas of professional development that I'm sure staff everywhere, I know as a teacher, we're seeing across different districts, working with groups like Courageous Conversation, of course, and existing professional development in our district is vital, essential, and seeing that go to things like LGBTQ plus training, ethnic studies, universal design for learning, and of course special education as a whole, is something I think that is increasingly noted and demanded or sought for by educators. I know where I'm working, there's a lot of strong development in larger city districts in terms of expanding these programs. In our district being a smaller district, being able to support those programs and expand with this funding is of course essential. I should also note too is International Restorative Justice Week. So the timing is good to hear that, because I think a lot of our students who didn't have the interpersonal and interactive training over the last year and a half, 2 years, that restorative justice, I feel, builds so well with. I know at the middle school level when I saw it, at the high school level, that it has a huge impact, just seeing each other as peers, not having that social emotional learning and development at the same level through online learning, simply just not the same as in-person learning. Definitely, I think, not just our students, but our staff alike benefit from these kind of programs. And so I just want to honor that this is, timely, of course, and I think it will have a strong impact. That said, can you speak to how we might be able to continue moving with this funding onward when the funding runs out, and how we anticipate to kind of embed this kind of training in future professional development that we already have funded through the LCAP?
So, like everything else, we do have a study session during our LCAP, and then we do list down our priorities. And based on that, we do, make recommendations, whether, what to continue and discontinue. And so these professional learning, if it's a priority, will continue.
Thank you.
So I guess when you're saying it will continue, that would be once this is exhausted. Okay. So this full amount's supposed to last, we have to spend it by 2026.
We have to spend it by 25, 26. We still have federal funds also that we've been, using for professional learning.
Okay.
So one area that is not listed here is grading for equity, which we are going to continue, and that's funded out of Title I. And same thing for our professional learning community coaching and sessions. So and our English learner program, we use Title III and the supplemental funds for that as well.
Okay, so you said the grading for equity is funded through Title I. That's district-wide?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you set aside $20,000, say, for the LGBTQ plus training, is that number seems small to me, but it's, is that because you looked into a specific program or you checked other?
It's just an estimate, and it was based on our gender spectrum training that we had this year.
Great.
But this plan is a live plan, depending on what our needs are. So there could be changes depending on what we need for that year.
Oh, I see, okay. And then the admin training, is that for site admin?
For
Just
site
admin?
administrators, and if there are district administrators that,
Okay.
That would like to participate, we
Okay.
would open that.
And that's
to us.
completely voluntary, or we haven't set any?
We haven't discussed.
Requirements, yeah.
Administrators training. We will be speaking with our principals tomorrow about this and ask them, what are their needs in order to grow as an administrator.
Yeah, because I know, well, I mean, we have, Westmore's all new, so I think that's really valuable. But I don't have any other questions. Do our students have any questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see, now we're on to the board policy. First read, Ms. Lujan?
Board. Good to see you all. This evening before you is Board Policy 4216 being presented to you as a first read. There's a small change to help better align this board policy with Education Code, which notes that classified employees are permanent after 6 months, but our current board policy as it stands notes 1 year. And I welcome any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions?
Just the one change.
Just the one
One
change.
change.
One change, two
You
times
have
on it.
one? Mr. Archifinti, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, yeah, I just want to say, I think in times like these, we have to consider the need, of course, in our communities and public education as a whole. Having gone through the credential program and that process, and a lot of people, I think, in our community want to work public education. There are a lot of hoops to jump through, of course. Just with COVID, really raising the discussion to a level where we're reevaluating standardized testing for not only our students and having to qualify for higher education and thinking about the inequities in that, but also that discussion happening at the level of the CDE and our state and national level to reconsider what that means in terms of licensing, essentially, credentialing our educators, how we maintain a level of high quality instruction, but really understanding what that means in terms of how many quality educators are being disqualified because our assessments aren't matching the need in our communities and what that's doing to the impact to our staffing, to even getting substitute teachers who want to be able to work in our schools, but may have been discouraged because of issues that existed before the pandemic. So I think 6 months is sensible, and I think that, you know, a lot of teachers struggle in their first year of teaching. 6 months in, there's always a need for support, and I feel that a lot of administrators are under pressure to feel like a teacher needs to be perfectly trained, which we know that even fully credentialed teachers still have a lot to learn. That's why professional development is so vital to many industries, and particularly to education, where so many things are changing right now. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that this is one less hoop I think educators have to worry about, in the sense that they'll be able to continue doing their job and not worry about not completing their first year or second year of service, and feeling like they can really invest in our community and our district.
I'm looking at Dana because I want to make sure you have a clarification.
Classified.
This is not for credentialed.
Absolutely,
Oh.
and I wanted to thank you for your points. You did make some
Yes.
excellent points about what the Credentialing Commission is discussing at this time, and some of the leniency they've provided on the basic skills assessment or requirement, as well as CSETs and EdTPAs to have credentials issued. So you raised some really great points about reducing the number of hoops that teachers need to jump through. But just to clarify, this is definitely for classified staff.
No, thank you for catching that. I totally misread that part. I do think, hearing those discussions, I think I would recommend that, obviously, for that. Discussion's not on the table today, but I do think that applies to classified as well. A lot of our classified staff, in terms of, you know, internship programs and pathway programs and becoming educators, definitely retaining them in the work as paraprofessionals applies the same way. But, yeah. And I would recommend maybe seeing something like that as well for certificated. Thank you for that catch.
I think now you're going to be joined by Ms. Besuino.
Yes, I believe so. The next item.
For the
this
next
evening-
item,
Yes.
AFT 1481 and JUHSD contract negotiation proposal for, totally up to you if you want to go up.
wants to
Want to
speak?
come sit with me?
Wanna sit there.
Oh, have fun. I'll move over. Okay. You look fantastic.
We need some levity tonight.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Go ahead.
So good evening, everyone. Before you, we have both the AFT 1481 initial proposal, as well as the Jefferson Union High School District initial proposal. As President Casey mentioned in her comments, our intention would be to open contract negotiations later this week, so we'll be engaging in conversations. But before we engage in conversations, we wanted to make both proposals publicly available for your consideration, for the benefit of the public, and any comments.
No comments.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you.
Great job.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for joining me. It's really nice to sit with you.
Sorry. Okay, Now 16A2, the resolution number 2021-22/8, support of Assembly Bill number 75, Kindergarten Community Colleges Public Education Facilities Bond Act of 2022. Ms. Presta?
Thank you. So in 2016, California voters passed a statewide school bond, Prop 51, and funds from Prop 51 are currently fully reserved. So as a result of that oversubscription, the Office of Public School Construction created a wait list. Presently, there's over $3 billion worth of modernization and new construction project applications on that wait list, awaiting matching funds. AB 75 will put on the ballot in 2022 another statewide school facility bond worth $12 billion in general obligation bonds to fund projects on that wait list and future needs. If passed by the voters, AB 75 will continue funding one of the most successful school facility infrastructure programs in the country. And so it is recommended that the board approve the resolution just in support of Assembly Bill 75.
Questions?
Yes.
First, an assembly bill that has not been fully decided yet, and something that certainly will be an item of discussion. I think any bill that's looking to fund education is certainly vital and welcome. I believe most of this speaks to that. I'm not sure if the language will be amended further. I would like to see further debate in terms of where our state goes with it. I understand the Governor Newsom is very active in the field of education and where that's going. Certainly, Assembly members, is it O'Donnell and who is the other author, Medina, have worked on this extensively. It being on since late 2020, given the changes, I think, in how schools are funded and some of the things that we've been fighting for. I think it's good that we're looking to the state to help find those solutions because we need the state to take the lead on that, given that we are underfunded across the state in many ways, regardless of whether or not, there are disparities, which there are in our school districts and communities, given the cost of living. There is one clause about the use of surplus property that I think, given discussions in our district, in terms of sale proceeds, funds generated by certificates of participation, for facility purposes, bond funds, federal grants, et cetera, language that speaks to where the funding has already been allocated and how it will continue to be allocated, I think is an evolving discussion that I would like to see more information on. So I appreciate this as a first reading, but I don't feel like we should be making any decision based on this to get ahead of where legislators are taking the lead on that. So I would actually motion that we revisit this later, especially when we have a full board present, and take into consideration with a little bit more time as we see that federal movement on the Build Back Better Act will also speak to these issues.
What is your motion?
Revisit this, table this and revisit it at a later time.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Hearing none, your motion fails. Do we have a second motion?
I'll just make a quick comment if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Archipinti. I think this is just simply a recommendation that we would approve, that we would approve this resolution just in support of the bill. Naturally, the language may still yet change, but at least this is in support of making sure that this moves forward per the recommendations of CSBA and others who have been lobbying to get this on the ballot for next year. So I move that we approve resolution 2122/8 in support of Assembly Bill 75.
Second.
We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Oshpende?
Abstain.
Trustee Inger?
Yes.
Vice President Lee?
Yes?
President Tejada?
Aye.
Student Trustee Liang?
You have to say out loud. Yes, thanks.
And Student Trustee Abazaraya.
Thank you.
So we're on to action item 16B1, the 2021-22 early notification of retirement incentive side letter. Ms. Lujan, hello again. You're going to be with us for the rest of the evening.
So the first item or I guess the first of this section of items that I have this evening is a side letter to be presented for your consideration. We collaborated with AFT on presenting an early tell or retirement incentive to gather information on employees who may intend to retire, so that way we can begin recruiting early. So this is being presented for your consideration, and any questions are welcome.
Approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the COVID-19 pandemic stipend, fall 2021 MOU.
Thank you. This is another collaboration between American Federation of Teachers and the Jefferson Union High School District. We recognize that as students return, more has been asked of our staff than ever before, and we wanted to provide a stipend payment in recognition of their efforts. And so this MOU is being presented for your consideration.
Stipend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2021-22 COVID leave MOU.
Another MOU in collaboration with the American Federation of Teachers. We recognize that many COVID leaves are covered under workers' compensation or exclusion pay. However, there are some small provisions that are simply just not covered, and we wanted to provide additional time for employees who may get a booster shot and those kinds of things. And so this MOU outlines additional provisions for our employees.
Approve the COVID leave MOU.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And our job description for the mental health counselor.
So this is a new job description that does not add any additional positions to our district. We currently have students who receive mental health services as part of their IEP goals, and so we would like to ensure that we have staff on hand with the appropriate credentialing who can provide those direct services to our students with IEPs.
Approve. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the variable term waiver for Scott Sachs.
This variable term waiver is waives the English learner authorization requirement. This teacher is currently a career technical education teacher who will earn his English learner authorization as part of his credential. He just needs to clear his credential, so he will have this added to his credential by the start of next school year.
Approve the variable term waiver for Mr. Sachs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Lujan. Let's see. Now on to the Westmore High School modernization change orders. Ms. Van Raphorst?
Thank you, President Tejada. Good evening, everyone. Before you tonight is a large packet of small change orders on the Westmore High School modernization project. This is typical when such a large project nears the end of construction to kind of tie up loose ends. The project has spanned over 5 years and had a budget of $85 million. The change orders that are recommended for approval tonight total about $913,000. About $515,000 would be covered by the remaining contingency funds, which puts the project about $398,000 over budget, which is less than 0.5% of the overall project budget. So while being over budget is never desirable, I want to point out when Ms. Phillips and I took over the project, the budget was $125 million, which the district could not afford. So I'm very proud of Ms. Phillips and our partners at Swinnerton for getting so close to the redesigned $85 million budget. Swinnerton has been providing construction management and supervision services on the project, and we're very grateful to them. I want to make sure you understand that the project still does have a few outstanding items being finished up right now. So this will not be the last of the change orders, but the remaining items will be very minimal and may even be covered by some credits that we're expecting. We anticipate bringing a final project report to the board prior to the end of the fiscal year. And in summary, I just want to recommend to the board that you approve the change orders for the Westmore Modernization Project as presented. And in case you have questions, Ms. Phillips is here. And with her is Drew Smith, the operation manager from Swinnerton.
Yes, thank you for bringing this to the board. I guess my question would be for our staff from Swinnerton. I understand that change orders, according to past conversations here, board meetings, are fairly routine in the field of construction. Of course, I have questioned past change orders, I think with good cause. Some of them are related to basically staffing and costs around changes in terms of navigating our sites and during COVID-19. Others have related to, as described, routine, technical improvements and things that need to be changed. Given the questions I've had prior, I would just kind of echo those questions. I guess my first would be, and this is just my lack of experience with construction, but my understanding of contracts is these changes are being brought now that we were under budget before, and that was a large part of approving prior change orders. Can you explain why this has taken us over budget, given that we are under the original budget of 125, now at 85 million? Can you explain why these weren't necessarily amended prior or within the scope of contracts for these contractors?
I think if you, so what are the categories of change orders? I know we broke them up, and it says it on the backup.
Right. Each of the
Like
change
explain,
orders
yeah.
have either design discrepancy, which has to do with typically the drawings not being accurate or
incomplete to the scope of
or
work.
incomplete. And then there was, what else was there?
There's unforeseen.
Unforeseen conditions, which are, and each of these change orders have those, have been labeled that way. And then there's also scope, there was a couple of scope gaps where the, I guess the change orders were, I'm trying to think of
It's like where we asked them to improve it a little bit. It was like,
What's that?
isn't that when we asked them to do
No,
something a
no,
little
no, that's a
different? Oh.
district request.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, scope gaps would be something that basically at because Swinnerton, in a sense, may have, I'm just trying to think of
There are
what was
some
the skip.
gaps where the drawings aren't coordinated between sets of drawings.
Right,
So they're typed as coordination issues.
Yeah.
As in, a pipe is showing run through a piece of steel, the steel drawings show it to be put there. When the two come together, something has to move. So it is, in lieu of the missed design, which is just completely not in the set of drawings. This is where the drawings aren't
Weren't
coordinated
coordinated,
between
exactly.
design disciplines.
right. So not a complete design discrepancy. So, so they've all been labeled that way.
See, thank you for that. I guess my additional question would be, in terms of unforeseen conditions, there are always variables and things that come up, especially with weather and a long-term project, I understand that. In terms of coordination, sometimes I just have to wonder when I'm looking at the funds here. I know one of the things that was pointed out to me was, you know, at the theater at Westmore, some of the doors opening one way or another, in terms of access, in terms of our students, just in terms of having equitable access and safe access to certain rooms and corridors. Were those some of the issues addressed in these change orders?
That door issue is not in these change orders. That is a new, relatively
A
new
door
issue.
that needs to be switched because there's a, was drawn to open a certain way and it should actually be the reverse. So we're actually in the process of issuing a directive. It has to go through our building department, DSA. And once that's been approved, because they approve all of our egress, we will be changing the swing of the door.
Thank you. So would that be an additional cost, or is that within the scope of this?
Yes, it will.
An additional?
Yes.
Got it. I guess, you know, and I appreciate all the work. I know it's a lot of hard work putting these projects together, not to leave that unmentioned. Certainly, I think our entire district is appreciative of this kind of development. It's why we pass bonds, to make sure that our school facilities are upgraded and, of course, built. And some of these new facilities are amazing. I've seen them, walk through them, and I think hopefully students are able to enjoy all those facilities. Certainly, they appreciate having these facilities on campus, which I'm sure our student trustees can, you know, mention as well, you know, what kind of experiences they've had with that. That said, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Based off my prior questions, and we don't have time for all of, I guess I wouldn't go through the entire list or want to ask you for your time on every single item here. Certainly, you might not even have all the information. I appreciate it, although I will abstain from this vote in terms of approval, just because I have so many questions prior that extend to, I think, how we navigate change orders in our district, not just with respect to one project, but others as well. So thank you for this and, of course, your work in our district. Appreciate it.
Thank you for this detailed log. Actually, this is really, really helpful to understand the scope. I mean, as you know, Ms. Phillips, I mean, I'm well familiar with this industry, and so to actually see this level of detail for us is helpful. These are all things that have already occurred, and obviously you've had to make these decisions on the fly in the field because that's what happens. So you're just coming back to us to let us know that at this point, we just need to approve change orders formally so that the appropriate funds can be allocated to both Swinnerton and all of the trade contractors. So thank you for your hard work, and I'm really grateful for what that campus now looks like between the new facility as well as the modernization of the existing campus. I know when you go in and tear down those walls, there's all sorts of stuff that you find that you didn't expect to find. So thank you for that, and with that, I make a motion to approve the change orders.
I'd like to make one comment, and that is, yeah, I've been the chair of the Jefferson Elementary Bond Oversight Committee since 2013. I've been on the committee since 2013, and there's another bond, and these things happen all the time. And what you've been able to do, I remember when the original budget, we looked at it and said, there's just no way. And who could, I mean, for you guys to get us down to a budget of 85, and this is only 0.5% over that, amazing. And it's gorgeous. And I just want to commend you, our partners with Swinnerton. Thank you so much for all your hard work on this. And so you wanted to make a motion?
The motion's already on the floor.
Okay.
I want a second, but I also wanted to, thank you for all the hard work that you did. I am very impressed that it's under budget, because it's not every day that somebody tells you some construction work came under budget. I mean, you never hear that every day. So thank you for all your hard work. And yes, and thank you for the walkthrough that we had during the summertime, just to kind of like check out everything before it was done. So
Yeah, that was great.
yes, it was wonderful. So again, thank you so much. And I second the motion.
Okay. I believe we want a roll call vote here.
Trustee Ochapinsky?
Abstain.
Trustee Garrett?
Aye.
Vice President Lee?
Aye.
President Tejada?
Aye.
Student Trustee Liang? And Student Trustee Aguirre?
Aye.
So now we've got HKIT, Architects Additional Service for lead. Site changes?
Thank you, President Tejada. Before the board tonight is a proposal from HKIT, or HKIT. I always call it HKIT, but I think they prefer HKIT.
Sorry.
Architects. They are the firm leading the development of our new adult school and district office buildings. The proposal is for an additional service to cover LEED certification, some minor site changes, and a simple project website for an amount not to exceed $295,621 to be paid with bond funds. And I am actually going to pass it off to Ms. Phillips now so she can tell you a little bit more about this proposal. Oh, and I'm sorry. Well, you can introduce Jeff. I was going to introduce Jeff, but you can introduce him.
This is Jeff from HKIT.
I'm grabbing my glasses because I can't see. Good evening. Adult Education and District Office Building. So we would like to pursue LEED certification for the new Adult Education and District Office buildings. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, which is most widely used green building rating system in the world. LEED provides the framework for buildings to be highly efficient as well as beneficial cost savings that come from energy, water, and maintenance savings. We are excited because this is the first project in the district where green buildings and sustainability were taken into consideration in the design beyond what is required by code. There's an additional service also that HKIT for the LEED certification and for the design changes to the site for a playground and turf for the adult transition program. So I'd like to know if anybody has any questions.
Yeah. First, I would just like to preface my comments, questions with this project from the start, in terms of relocating the district office, was never fully disclosed in terms of the larger project, which is tethered to Ceremony Del Rey, of course. And given my stance on these things, because I do prioritize public education and green spaces, and I think, of course, LEED certification, these kind of things are very important in urban planning. That said, as I'm not in favor of this project as a whole, because I believe our public parks should remain public and green spaces and open spaces, I think it's really given the tone and the pace of this discussion at the city level and, of course, in our community as a whole, is once again going beyond the scope of what I was explained before Ceremony Del Rey was unveiled as a project, and throughout the term of the last year or so, where we've had these discussions and, of course, deliberation. So I believe this is an inappropriate item to be discussing on our agenda, because these decisions aren't final. I also want to note, LEED doing things right in terms with respect to the environment, in terms of urban planning, is absolutely a must, and I appreciate any effort in that direction. Given that this project hasn't cleared all those hurdles, I did recommend an environmental impact report. Instead, it was recommended that there was a mitigated negative declaration. Immediately after my request for that, the period for public comment on this project was initiated, which resulted in getting zero, outside of the city, zero public comments from the Westmore community. In my discussions with people in the area, people were shocked, and in fact, want to keep Westmore Park as it is and upgraded and improved as a park. However, something like this takes the project a step further, when in fact many of my concerns have never been addressed in terms of preserving our trees, preserving our green space, our playground, and essentially something resembling a park instead of just what will become maybe basically an office park. So those are my concerns, just to preface that. That said, I don't see anything wrong with promoting LEED certification and definitely going above and beyond the requirements of a project, but this project is not finalized. So I believe it's premature, and I would make a motion to remove this from the agenda, if not, since we are discussing at this point, revisiting it at another time, because the community has not had an ample opportunity to speak on this project as a whole. So well, I think
Your motion is noted. Do we have a second? Hearing none, your motion has failed. Do we have another motion or questions?
I'll have a motion right after, just a couple of comments. First off, I just want to say thank you. This is, the fact that this is going to be the first project in our district that will have LEED certification is a really, really big deal for us. And I'm really excited about the fact that we could use this as a model for future work, especially as we look at the additional site planning, ongoing feasibility study with respect to the other campuses. So at least for me, I think this is really something we should be. I would encourage us to continue to look for ways to do this. The other thing too is I mean just looking through all of this, it's just pretty exciting to see the level of detail from the images that we've seen over the past several months. The fact that this is going to house, especially our most our neediest students, especially with the adult transition students, to see what the new adult education building will be able to offer, especially for the students who are currently housed in this building. And as we all know, this building, frankly, is terrible, especially for the highest need students. And so for them to be able to be in a space with a lot of natural light. The other thing is for our staff and teachers who do work in this building, who do not see the light of day and feel like vampires, oh, what's that? Sun, oh no. I mean, this is the fact that they won't have to react that way because there will be natural light coming into the offices, into the classrooms. It's fantastic. And to know that this will be a net zero energy building. So fantastic. And I would move that we approve this proposal.
You have a second?
Yes, but I do have a second. I also want to comment that I'm really excited about the little community use play structure because I've been to the Westmore Park and actually I wouldn't even bring my kids there because the structure is so run down that it's really actually not safe because I've been there a bunch of times to work out and do things over there. So I'm really excited to see that there's a play structure over there. And just for the record, I went to Mills High School and I have been learning in a classroom such as this with no light and it is horrible. So exactly like this. So to be able to work in an environment where there's actually windows and lighting and pleasant, you know, not like these kind of light bulbs would be wonderful. Just speaking from experience. So that's all I got to say about that. But yes, I do second this as well. So.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
No.
Aye.
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 I want to say I'm super excited about this. Once again, visionary. We're leading the area, right? We're leading in so many different ways, and I just want to thank you again for all your hard work on this.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Evans. You were called Jeff.
HKIT.
HK, we're HKIT. Either one is
HKIT. Jeff, HKIT. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now on to consideration of future agenda items.
Yep, I know that Ms. Presta has noted it in a prior weekly recap, but I think we should consider discussion of potentially moving to trustee area elections at some point. So maybe just to open up that discussion to see what we might think about that as a board.
Trustee area elections, that's right. Mr. Ochipente?
Yeah, I'd like to actually raise again a prior future agenda item that I forwarded to Superintendent Presta a couple weeks ago. It's a resolution that the San Francisco Unified School District Board of Education has adopted and renewed with respect to meeting protocols and meeting through both virtual and in-person meetings. The resolution I did forward a couple weeks ago, the name of it is essentially that finding that as a result of the state emergency declared by California Governor Newsom on March 4th, 2020, it is necessary to continue to conduct virtual meetings and avoid imminent risk to the health and safety of attendees, thus providing any attendee and, of course, member of our board, including our student trustees and staff, to attend virtually if they, of course, don't have or don't meet the requirements that we recently set forward that many districts have, so that we can still preserve public access to our meetings. Just to note, I think that many of our meetings would be better attended were it not a pandemic, obviously, but Zoom has been a vital tool, not only as a teacher, I see it in terms of distance learning, and now through other avenues where necessary for some students who cannot attend, though it is not our current policy to do that in terms of as educators, we can only do so much to reach our students, but I think in terms of reaching our public as public officials, we have a little bit of latitude to be able to work with people where they're at, and I think those concerns are valid, and we should honor that with respect to access to civic engagement. And so I can again forward the resolution, and I'll ask that we visit it before the end of the year, hopefully at our next meeting. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
8:35.